In an earlier video, we used DAX to create calculated columns. You can also use DAX to create measures. And measures are more sort of like aggregate type functions where you're wanting to average or sum or count. And they are more efficient than calculated columns, if calculated columns can be avoided. And the reason for that is calculated columns work on a row by row basis, and so they increase your data set size, where a measure is a single value that gives you an aggregate result. One of the ways to create a measure is to create a quick measure, and I want to take you through that. So first of all, in our report view, I'm going to ask you to double click page 1 and call this page Sales Analysis. And what I want to do is create a matrix. So in my visualizations pane, I'm just going to click the matrix button. And I might stretch it out a little bit. Now, in terms of our fields, what I want to do is open up the reseller, and I want to grab reseller, the field here, and drop it into the rows bucket. And then I'll close reseller. And so I'm seeing resellers as each of my rows. I might close that, and just so you can see it a little bit more. The next thing I want to do is go to product, open up product, and grab category and drop it into the columns bucket. And so I'm seeing my categories as columns. And then what I want to do is close product and go into sales. And I want to grab sales amount and drop that into my values bucket. And so here, if I just stretch this a little bit, we're basically saying the total sales by reseller and by category and overall. And we have a matrix. Now, with the matrix selected, I want to hit the drop down on the sales, the sum of sales amount here. And I want to create a quick measure. So this is one way that you can create a new quick measure. Now in the new quick measure window, let me just move this over a little bit. I want to look under calculation, and what I'm wanting to do is do an average per category. And I want to change sum of sales amount to actually average. And I'd like to add product category to the category field instead of reseller. So I'm basically looking for the average sales by category, and that's product category, and okay. What I end up with here is my quick measure. And so what I can do now is I can rename the measure, and I can do this in several ways. I could edit it up here in the formula bar, or I could right click and just rename it, which I might do it that way. And I just want to call it something simpler, like average sales. And when I press enter, not only do you see that in the fields pane, but you'll see it in the formula bar, and there it is there. So we've renamed the quick measure. And what I might do is just collapse the formula bar so it doesn't take up so much space. And I'm going to save my file. All right. So that's one quick measure that I can now see is appearing in my matrix here, average sales. Let me just click on the matrix and just stretch it out so we can see more clearly. So there we've added a quick measure, looks like a little calculator, as part of our matrix. In the name of practice, let's create another quick measure. So I'm going to right click the sales amount again. I'm going to ask for a new quick measure or a new measure. No, new quick measure. I'm going to move this over so you can see. And this time in the calculation, I don't want an average per category or a max or a min. What I'm after this time is towards the bottom, which is a star rating. If I go for star rating, I can set the sum of sales amount as my base value and the number of stars I'd like. So say I want a maximum of 4 stars. Now the lowest rating, which gets 0 stars, is 0. And those that get 4 stars have to achieve 4,000 in terms of the total sales amount. So if they sold nothing, they would get no stars. If they sold 4,000 or more in sales amount, then they'd get 4 stars. And it would work out the rest by divvying it into thousands. So I'm just going to choose OK. I don't see my stars showing in my matrix, so I'm going to grab this measure here, which is my sales amount star rating, and I'm going to drop it into my values bucket above the average sales. And now I can see in my matrix that to the right and before my average sales are some stars. But the name is too long, so I'm going to go to my sales amount star rating, right click it, and I'm going to rename it. And I just want to call it sales rating, or even just rating would do. But sales rating, if I now click away, appears in my matrix before the average sales. And if they sold over 4,000, like this particular action cycle specialist did, then they would get 4 stars. But these guys only sold 131, so they got 0 stars filled in, so to speak. If I wanted to change the code, I could click on my sales rating and I could expand my formula bar and I could edit it. Maybe I'm going to make it that they have to achieve at least $5,000 worth of sales in order to get 4 stars. And then I hit the tick to accept that change. So you can actually edit. And if I then collapse that formula bar just by clicking it twice, click away from the formula bar, I can now see that if somebody earned over 5,000, then they would get 4 stars. So that's another thing. This sum of sales amount here, I'm going to go to click on my matrix. I'm going to hit this drop down here. I'm going to rename this just while I'm at it. Rename for this visual, just total sales, and make it tidier. Excellent. So that's an example of a couple of quick measures, and we've done measures in earlier videos.